Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the opportunity. Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for all the blessings that you give to us each and every day. Lord, most of all for salvation. The Lord, for our strength, our courage, and the knowledge of our country, for our county. Lord, for its leaders. We ask forgiveness, Father, when we sin, when we fail you. We ask that you strengthen us, Lord, to keep our eyes on you, even during these trying times. We ask, Father, that during this committee meeting tonight, that you would be with the heart and the minds of each member. Lord, ever reminding us, God, the trust that's been placed in us by our constituents. And Lord, ever give us your wisdom to lead this county in the ways that would be pleasing to you. In Jesus' holy name, amen.
Attention to the pledge. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wandale.
Here.
Commissioner Meredith.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner McCamey.
Here.
Commissioner Yeager.
Here.
Commissioner Meade.
Here.
Commissioner Scott.
Here.
And Commissioner Isbell.
Here, members present constitute a quorum. First is the approval of the agenda, and I had a request from Jay to add General Clark to the agenda. I don't see Jay in the audience or General Clark.
I'm here, sir.
Oh, okay. Have you got General Clark online?
No, I'm just going to do it for him tonight. We've got Shane here. Shane's very familiar with the contract, and if needed so, I've got Brad Pruitt standing by if you have additional questions on it. It's very similar to the one you've approved in the past. It's for the 7th Judicial Drug Task Force, or Crime Task Force, I'm sorry.
Okay. Can we get a motion from someone to add this to the agenda?
This is Mr. Meade, so moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Meade, second by Commissioner Wandale. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Commissioner Wandale.
On chalkboard, that is our road as the cold front gets closer. The cold front tonight brings us a light rain.
Meredith.
Yes.
You sleep.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner McCamey.
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager.
Yes.
Commissioner Meade.
Yes.
Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
And Chairman Isbell.
Yes. And Jay, what we'll do, we'll just go ahead and put that under your report.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you. Next, we have the appearance of citizens for anyone to appear that's for anything that's not on the agenda. I'm not seeing anyone out there lit up. Okay, we'll move on. Next is request state officials to add meat processing training to Tennessee College of Applied Technology curriculum, requested by Commissioner Anderson. Chairman Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Granger County Commission Chairman Acuff had originally brought this to my attention, and when I floated it by some cattle producer and farming people around the district and the county, they were really excited about it. Several people have said it's kind of a dying trade, and they would really like to see the state add that to the TCAT curriculum. It pretty decent paying jobs for people that have that training. So I know this is really just a request to the state to look at it and consider it, but the more counties that do it, I think it'll put more pressure. So I'd like to make the motion that we just adapt the Granger County resolution and send that to the state.
This is Mr. Meade. I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner Meade. Discussion? Robert? Commissioner McCamey?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Not seeing any further discussion. Could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Wandell,
It's changed. In Knoxville, hoping
Commissioner Meredith,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamey,
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager,
Yes.
Commissioner Mead,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Chairman Isbell.
Yes.
All 8.
Motion passes unanimous. Next is Mayor Frank.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question on that? Does the Chairman Anderson want me to go ahead and make those modifications to that resolution, have it ready by Wednesday?
Yeah, that would be great. And I could actually forward you a copy that Leanne in the mayor's office had kind of adapted it to Anderson, to have Anderson County's format, but I can, if you want to get with Leanne, or I can forward you that.
Okay, thank you,
Shouldn't be
sir.
too many changes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor?
All right, the first item on the agenda is a request to partner with the U.S. Naval Sea Cadets Unit, the Smoky Mountain Anchor Division. And Mr. Chairman, not all of them, I don't believe all of them are here tonight. No, definitely not. But if you all would stand and just let the commissioners see who you are. Thank you. Just for the folks at home as well,
Could they
Mr.
stand up
Chairman.
One more time. I don't think
Sure.
the camera got
Oh,
back there
okay.
quick enough. So all the parents can see them too, just not here.
The
Thank you.
cadets are ages 10 through 18. They drill a reservist schedule 1 weekend a month and then a minimum of 2 weeks a year. Unlike the JROTC that is attached to a school district, part of the curriculum and considered a grade, these cadets, the Naval Sea Cadets, come together voluntarily out of love of country. And what they are looking for is a host location. So they currently have a building dilemma. They will graciously accept any accommodations the county is able to provide. They are flexible in adjusting to those accommodations. In your agenda packet, I put all the backup legal guidance, Department of Defense. I put in there the information as well that they can enter into an agreement with us as a county government, either through a lease or a licensing agreement. And what their needs are a dedicated room or storage closet to potentially store their supplies and gear for when they come and do their drills, access after hours, and that could be arranged with the department, access to restrooms. It would be good if they had access to a kitchen, but that is not a requirement. The cadets usually have a full schedule of activities and community service obligations, so it would be good to work out with the county a way for them to come and go that is a secure way and maintains the security of the county facility. And they would like to have access to a common area for a meeting space. All of this would be done with the understanding of a promise that they would reciprocate with volunteer hours or maintenance and upkeep of the building when needed. They do have liability insurance. And so specifically what we were asking for, but we're definitely open to other ideas. The action I put in your agenda tonight is to request a motion to approve the partnership with the U.S. Naval Sea Cadets Unit, the Smoky Mountain Anchor Division, and Anderson County for the use of the Anderson County Senior Building located at 96 Mariner Point Drive, Clinton, for the use of space that does not impair or restrict normal use of the facility by other users. And if this motion is approved, then I would proceed to the next step, which would be the development of a licensing or a lease agreement by working with a law director and bring that official agreement back for approval in November. This partnership is after hours. All scheduling would be made in advance with the county and our facility. And so they would use it with the understanding that it would not interfere with activities that are scheduled for the county facility.
And we have two sailors on this committee that would probably be the most interested in making and seconding this motion.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Meade. Having spent over 10 years enlisted service in the Navy and 11 and a half years commissioned service, I'm very much in favor of this. I think it's good for the people involved and it's good for the county in general. And I would certainly be willing to help them out to any way that I can. Having been enlisted for all those years and an officer for all those years, I can give a certain twist to what the Navy is all about. Thank you.
Commissioner Wandale?
Yes, sir. I'll second that 100% and appreciate the mayor bringing this to our attention and certainly appreciate them young men and women for what they do. I'm very proud of Anderson County as a whole and the programs that they've put in place for our future generations. And I've been very impressed with what I've seen. And I know the rest of the commission and you, Mr. Chairman, and all have, and the mayor have been impressed. So certainly second it. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. McCamey?
wouldn't the DARC building be a better location? They could, we've got plenty of rooms there. They wouldn't have to schedule anything. I mean, they could meet anytime they wanted. It wouldn't interfere with anything, that the county might have scheduled at the Mariner Point location. And we have plenty of room there now. But I just think that would be a better location.
Okay, Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Actually, Robert had asked a key question that I was going to ask. It's on my list. And Mayor, approximately how much room do they need for storage and what is it that they would be storing?
Kathy, do you want to come forward and talk a little bit about your storage needs? I did reach out because we are limited for space as far as giving someone a room at the senior center. We do have the storage buildings, and I reached out to Kathy to see if that would be acceptable to give them some space in one of those buildings, and that was fine. But I'll let Kathy address what kind of things they store.
Thank you.
Hello. My name is Kathy Sims. I'm Executive Officer and Training Officer for the U.S. Naval Sea Cadet Corps, specifically the Smoky Mountain Anchor Division. We would, again, as she stated, graciously accept anything that you can offer, but storage-wise, we would be storing the color guard gear, our excess uniforms, additional training gear. They have just like their athletic equipment, guidons, some administrative books, lessons, things like that. The storage shed we thought would be adequate, so it doesn't have to be larger than an 8x10. We can stack high and put shelves in there and we can tuck everything in. Right now it's being stored at the officer's personal residence across the eastern Tennessee. So if we could localize that, it would be more efficient.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and Mayor Frank, I think that suggesting that one of the rooms at the Darcy building would seem more fitting. After having been over there to do a walkthrough some time ago. There are several classroom size, different sizes of rooms that are available, as well as restrooms, and therefore they would have the ability to change clothes if necessary. There's more than sufficient parking for any size vehicles that they would need. And it's like Commissioner McCamey was saying, it wouldn't clash with anyone else's schedules because they would have the freedom of coming and going when they needed to. Some of those rooms on the backside especially have their own access. So it wouldn't require anyone being there to open up a building or, necessarily being concerned as to what events are going on at that time. And I'd appreciate it if you would consider that as well.
I'm absolutely open to the will of this body. So I think the important part is the partnership. I thought the senior idea was a good idea just from also a social and public health interaction and partnering the youth of the Sea Cadets with the senior program. So that was just my thinking with the senior program, but I'm certainly open. I don't know what your plans are for that other space. So, I mean, we could always, if you have another plan for that space, we could always move to the senior program. It's whatever this body recommends. I'm just
Commissioner
hopeful for the partnership.
I think that partnership is a good idea. I think the interaction between the seniors and the, let's see, 10 to 18-year-olds, is that what it was,
Yes,
Mayor?
sir.
I think I like that. So if there's any way to merge those guys together, I think that would be a good partnership personally.
So you could do an either or?
Yes.
I think that, personally, I think that'd be suitable because there may be certain instances that the Darcy building would be better, and certain instances that senior center would be better.
Yeah, this is Mr. Mead, maker of the motion. It was not my intent to specify the specific location that they move into, but just to officially become a sponsor for the program and then just, make room for them, which works out best. I think that there are times in Darcy building would be great, but I do think that those people would be a valuable asset to the atmosphere at the senior center as well.
Yes, sir. And one of the things that they do want to be able to do is hang some of their materials there. So their awards would go. So for instance, if they are partnered in the senior center, they would want an area on a wall in the senior center where it would showcase their awards, and then also it would be a showcase for those that are in that facility. But they could do that as well at the DARC building, whatever you all want. But I think we should make a decision if we're going to partner, where we would partner as we're preparing a lease or a license. However, Anderson County, whatever the law director think would be most appropriate for entering into that agreement.
Jay?
Yes, sir.
What's your thoughts on that?
This is non-exclusive, correct? I think that's what I hear you. So I wouldn't do a lease. I'd just do a license and allow them to use, I guess, both buildings, whatever the pleasure is of this body. But we could just do an access license, and I prefer to have it specific as to a room and where we're at. But if you wanted me to do it for both locations, fine. We need a point of contact, and but I can do it either way. But I do. Are you thinking about this is going to be an exclusive room, exclusive location at DARC? Because that might be somewhat of a nominal lease at that point. But at the senior center, that's going to need to be a license because I'm sure they use their space very efficiently, and they don't have a lot of room down there. So a dedicated room may be tough to pull off in the senior center. But that would more than likely be a license to use that. Whereas at DARC, we have a little bit of space, not a whole lot. There's been some great movement on the part of the circuit court clerk and the clerk and master to do archive storage down there. So, but we could possibly do an exclusive room for them at DARC. But I could do a lease at that point.
Okay, we've got a motion and it's really the maker of the motion. In this motion, it didn't specify a location. Probably, you could probably look at it and make a decision which way would be the best. Because I see advantages at both locations. And we could go ahead and vote on the motion as it is and then probably come back and decide where. Is that correct, Jay?
That's correct. Let me speak with Roger, if you don't mind. I'll put you something together for the county commission meeting, but I want to see exactly what he's got available down at DARC. If there is a room that we can allow them to have and use exclusively, that would be great.
Okay, well, we can certainly take that up in full commission. Chairman Anderson, is that okay with you? We'll get this motion passed tonight, hopefully.
Well, I did offer, what I was specifically asking for tonight, just to give you, I didn't want to put you all under the gun. I was just asking for agreement on the partnership, and then we would come back next month with the license or lease agreement. That would give you plenty of time to work on that. But at least we could let them know that Anderson County intended to partner and provide a space.
Is the maker of the motion okay with that? And second?
That's fine. Mr. Mead, that's fine.
Okay. Commissioner Yeager.
Thank you. I could meet with any of the members of this organization at the DARC building. I probably know it better than most. And we could go through it and we could have some choices for them to use. But I'd certainly be willing to meet with them and take them through the building.
Thank you. Good idea. Robert, did you want to speak again, Commissioner McCamey?
Well, Phil sort of stole my thunder there. I was going to recommend that the mayor and the representative, get together and look at both buildings and see what they had available. But I think Phil's got a good idea. He does probably know as much about it as most of the commission.
Yeah.
But I do know that we've got rooms that are available there, and maybe let them pick and choose which one they would prefer. But like I said, the scheduling and all that, at the very time that they want to meet, we may have something else scheduled. And but I like Phil's idea. If he's willing to do that, I say go ahead.
Okay. All right. So the motion will be voted on the partnership. Any other discussion on the partnership? Call the roll, please.
Wendell,
Aye.
Commissioner Meredith,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamey,
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager,
Yes.
Commissioner Mead,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Chairman Isbell.
Yes. Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you so much. And I know the cadets have homework to do, so you all don't have to stay. You can go. Thank you, County Commission, and we'll vote on this homework.
Hey, Mayor, before they leave,
Yes.
I want to do something out of turn, and it's the American's Creed thing that I have. And this would be like something, of course, what the proposal is to give to graduating seniors. But if you want to read this, and this would be something like we can also give groups of this, because I think this is very fitting. And this, if we approve this tonight, this would be something that we as a legislative body could give groups like this that come before us. Go ahead, Mayor.
I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon those principles of freedom, equality, justice, and humanity for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies. And then presented to, in this particular case, Tim Isabel with congratulations upon high school graduation. May the future bring you success, happiness, and achievement in the highest ideals of American citizenship. Beautiful.
And for these Sea Cadets at such an early age, to be able to take this on, to make this decision, I applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I give him credit just for reading through all those DOD. Did you read all of those guidelines? Annette probably had to work extra hard to compress that. All right, the next item on the agenda, I had come to you long ago about authorizing me to pursue grants for the construction of a new animal shelter. And as you know, with your assistance, we've been able to build with community partnership. The first shelter, County Commission invested $25,000. And then with the help and assistance of Anderson County's trustees and sheriff's department, we were able to get labor. And then a lot of folks in the community donated the materials and to make a nice facility that is valued well over $25,000. We were operating a shelter with an office and then also for the cats in what was a very old storage building. And if you'll recall, Commissioner Smallridge went down and looked at that and came to commission and asked for some funding. So we took a very modest amount of funding from County Commission. And then again, we leveraged that from folks in the community. We had air units donated, concrete donated, fencing donated. A lot of material in that facility has actually been donated, and we turned it into a wonderful facility. But nevertheless, it is still very small, and there are only 12 dog runs, and we do have a bank of cat cages, and we do well with the cats because we do have a partnership with PetSmart where we're able to take a lot of those cats and not only adopt them out, but then PetSmart contributes for every animal we adopt, every cat we adopt, then they contribute back to Anderson County government. So we utilize a lot of goodwill. Well, when it comes to applying for grants for a full shelter, I'm coming up short without an actual commitment. So I'm not here with any kind of official authorizing resolution to proceed with a grant application, but I wanted to open it up for discussion with commission if this is something you might be willing to let me pursue, which would be a USDA loan. That is one of the ways that we were able to build the Bryceville Library. They're very low interest loans that you can stretch out for 40 years. But the purpose would not necessarily be to borrow for the facility, but if we did go that path, it would show grant agencies and granting partners and also the community that there is a commitment to building a shelter. We did get land. We have a long-term lease with the city of Clinton at no cost, or it's negligible, I think $1 for 10 years or $10 for 20 years. I can't remember what the terms were. We do have that partnership there and that commitment from them. But I just wanted to open that up as a discussion. As you can imagine, we're a county of 76,000 plus. It's a constant, it's just a constant cycle of animals at our facility. And in order to reduce euthanasia and also be able to kind of get off of the hamster wheel, so to speak, and start educating about spay and neuter and reducing the cat population, you know, we're going to have to do something more than 12 runs and what we have for the cats. And so I just wanted to open that up as a discussion.
Have anyone out there who wants to speak?
Mr. Chairman, it's Rick.
Go ahead, Commissioner Meredith.
Thanks, sir. Mayor, I totally support what you're trying to do. I think the USDA grant option is a great way to go. So I would encourage you to move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meredith. And one of the things I know, we have talked at the Finance Committee level about debt and the ability to pay as you go. One thing that's very important about the USDA process, which is why I looked at this, is the direct loan program is a no prepayment penalty. So if we did go down this path and you did authorize it, and we raised funds and were able to get other grant partners, if we did have a loan in place, there is no penalty for paying off. Where now a lot of the debt we have, there is a penalty to pay it off.
Commissioner McCamey.
Yeah, I'll just ask, going to ask the mayor, what is your recommendation? Do you have a recommendation of what we should do?
I would recommend that we go this path. And I mean, again, Commissioner McCamey, the main obstacle is when I submit an application to a potential partner, they're looking back at me and asking, well, are you actually doing this? And I can't get funding partners when they don't have a dedicated commitment on our end. So I did reach out last year as I was looking at various grant programs, and I did reach out to the USDA and ask, is this something we would be eligible for? And they said, yes, this would qualify under their facilities program, or community facilities program. And I think it is something we also, you know, we work very well with our municipalities, and, you know, we're a shelter. We don't have the luxury of being no-kill. We have to take, we're the shelter of last resort, if you will. We have to take the animals. So I think it is an important service that the community appreciates.
Okay. Commissioner Meade, you want to speak?
Yeah, do we have some specific, you know, building or specific, you know, that we're looking at now, how much space we're adding and how much we're going to spend? Do we have something just a little bit more specific than, gee, we're going to do something?
Yes, I guess, well, over a year ago, we came out with the new plans, and I can email those to you again. I brought them tonight, but there's only one commissioner here, so it would, I've got a board here. So I'll show it to Jeff, the cameraman. So this is just the concept rendering without, you know, any of the landscaping or anything like that. And then this is the full floor layout that does include, so there's all the kennels, a small dog area, then there's your laundry, feed room, kitchen. There are two entrances. So this particular entrance is the public entrance with a reception area for adoption. There's a viewing room for some of the cats and dogs. We have a training room where we hope to do education and then even including wildlife and those kind of things. And then this becomes kind of the back of the house, if you will. So if you are someone from the public and you have lost an animal, or you have found one and you're coming to drop one off, you would come in this entrance. There's an overhang. And then there's your intake staff here. There's an exam room. And as you can see, it's kind of a walk straight back to your kennels. Volunteers could come back to this area to socialize with the animals. And then we also have planned in here, but this is an expensive endeavor, but we would hope to partner with someone like the University of Tennessee for their students. We do have a surgery center. So the ultimate goal would be to offer those low cost or as part of the adoption. Right now we pay for spay neuter. That could be done there on site. So we do have some of that, commissioners. That I can email you this plan.
This looks like a bigger project than the senior center.
Yes, yes, sir. Yeah, it's new construction.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Mayor, I think you see that this committee wants you to move forward.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, next is Law Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got 3 issues to bring to you tonight for your discussion. First of all, the robotics competition. I mentioned this to you last month at County Commission, and we've got a wonderful idea by Commissioner Isbell and Commissioner Denenberg to ask our high school robotics coaches and instructors to produce a robot that is in line with the theme of COVID relief. And we've got a couple schools already working on that. When I was first presented with this idea, I made the contacts as requested with the school system. They immediately went to work on this issue, and I got responses back that evening from the robotics instructors at the high school. I was under the belief that you wanted them to submit their design to the state robotics competition. But after I talked to a couple of county commissioners, they were under the impression that we may want to do our own robotics competition. So that's the decision I need tonight. Do we need to move forward with just encouraging our teams at the 3 high schools in our county to make a submission to the state robotics competition? Or does the Anderson County government and Anderson County Commission want to sponsor a robotics competition that we put on ourselves, and that I'm sure the individual schools may make a submission to the state championship robotics program. But I wasn't sure of how you wanted to work that out. I'm glad to do it either way. We can set something up to bring in some judges that have this area specialty and have our own robotics competition. But the question I need answered tonight is, does this body want to sponsor an Anderson County government robotics competition, or are we just encouraging our 3 high schools to make submissions to the state championship on robotics? That's the issue I need decided tonight, and I'll take it from there, whatever way route you want to take.
Jay, I would like to see, personally, I'd like to see it go to the state competition because I think it's an excellent idea. And it may give some other ideas to some of the other schools or, some other people that's out there in the industry, what they come up with. I've followed their programs, ever since it's been in existence, and they do a great job. They really do.
They do.
But it's for discussion for this committee. Do we have any discussion? Commissioner Meade?
Yeah, one of the things I was going to ask is, then this would be a school program, right?
Yes, sir, you're correct.
So it would be eligible for donations from commissioners with our money from the week. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I'd certainly be willing to donate some to that.
Yeah, we've got 2 high schools that have already contacted me, and they're busy working on their prototypes as we speak.
And these are working prototypes that can be used in the school system as well. Once they're done and they're proven that they worked, they help sanitize.
Right. I've actually asked them to, their prototype design is for large buildings, such as a school, such as the courthouse, to sanitize large spaces after hours when there's nobody there. But that's what they're looking at right now, is large scale sanitation through robotics.
Do we have any direction from the committee? How do you want to do that? Do you want it to go to the state program, or do you want to keep it local, or do you want to do both?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, I'd prefer that it goes through a state level. Everybody knows how much I'm willing to back the robotics team, especially out here in Oak Ridge. I just don't think that we have the level of knowledge for this particular project to be the ones to rate it on a level of being a competition within the county itself. Therefore, I would suggest that we go to a state level and like Commissioner Mead said, perhaps put in some of our funds as commissioners to back the project.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Scott. Do we have a second? That's to send it to the state. We have a second by Commissioner Anderson. Discussion on the motion. Call the roll, please. Oh, Commissioner Yeager.
No, just for getting ready to vote.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandale,
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamey,
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager,
Yes.
Commissioner Mead,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Isbell.
Yes.
Chairman. All 8.
Motion passes unanimous.
And Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask that Annette perhaps let all of the commissioners know where we stand financially with our funds, so that we can look to take it a step further after our next meeting, perhaps.
Annette said she will do that.
Beautiful, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You ready for the next issue, sir?
Yes.
The next issue is background check.
Oh, hold on just a second, Mayor.
Do you know what the cost is for the students to enter into that state competition? I know you were looking at individual contributions from your commission fund, but I do know those programs are very expensive. You might look at, if you're not going to put the cost in doing it locally, you might look at doing this, or underwriting part of the sponsorship to send it on to the state.
Jay, do you know what the cost is? I know they do that every year, don't they?
Yes, sir. It's in Brentwood, from what I can gather.
Okay.
I
We
can
can
find
find
out,
out.
though.
Okay. I'm sorry, Jay, go ahead.
I said I'll be glad to find out, though.
All right.
The next issue I have for you is the background checks. This was brought to my attention by the sheriff and the sheriff's upper level command staff. For years, this has kind of been a piecemeal operation with various departments working on it. Sometimes people go to the jail to get a background check for various purposes, such as employment or rental of a leased apartment or whatever. Or sometimes they'll go to the county circuit court clerk to do this. The problem is in the sheriff's office, they have two different locations, the jail, the detention facility, and the offices in the Jolly building. Well, it's very easy to accidentally hit the wrong function button and print out all the investigative notes and everything along those lines in the sheriff's office, and a case may not even be disposed of. They might not even have a conviction or a guilty plea or something along those lines. When we do a background check, it's imperative for us to only deal with convictions and not just arrest. If you've ever seen an NCIC criminal history, they put not only the convictions, but also the arrests. So some individual may have a laundry list of arrests on there that have never been disposed of, or 90% of them aren't disposed of, or maybe even entered into a plea arrangement or whatever. We sat down, had a meeting about it to find out what would be the best approach to do this. And we determined there'd be a centralized approach where only the background checks would only be done by one department. Fortunately, we had an elected official stand up that has access to this and offered to do this service, and that's our circuit court clerk, Rex Lynch. He's agreed to do this, but what I'd like to do is put down some definitive protocols and procedures for doing this background check. Rex has already thought about it and put in some ideas about maybe a link on his website to do it, and how they're going to, where they're going to take these applications for the background checks. But in other words, the sheriff's department is going to get out of the background check business other than entering the data. And all background checks will be done through the circuit court clerk's office. That's the proposal. If you want to amend that proposal, fine. But if this measure passes tonight, I'm going to go ahead and produce a resolution setting forth all the procedures and protocols to make sure we do it. We only deal with convictions, that there is a designated path, maybe even a link on the county website, make this as easy and efficient for our citizens as possible. From time to time, we do have several of these a week that come in. But thanks to Mr. Lynch, he's volunteered to do this. And but unless you have some other ideas on this, I'll go forward with your approval and go ahead and draft a resolution and get it before this body for final approval. Any comments?
Yes. I would move that we have the law director go ahead in that direction. And I would also just add his comment that we need to ensure that we're not releasing personally identifiable information that's not, I know when you do a background check on somebody, you have to come in with some information about them to know it's the right person. But I know the law director is, I'm sure, very aware of all the laws on the releasing of personally identifiable information. And we just have to make sure we stay in compliance.
Actually, the way the proposal is that only the requester requesting their own background check can do it. At the present time, we're not going to allow somebody to come in and pay for a background check on somebody else without their consent or permission, and that'll hopefully relieve us some of the liability.
Okay.
This will be individuals that have been told.
That handles it.
You're along the right idea. That is one of our concerns, but this will be individuals that are coming forward that need a background check for employment, or again, to get housing for themselves or their family. But yes, we'll be concerned about the personal information that's there, and we'll also have a release ready for these individuals to say, look, there's mistakes that are on the NCIC checks. There's no doubt. We see that from time to time, all the time. They're not necessarily 100% accurate. But the FBI does this. They collect this data, and there's, they're subject to the data input. So we'll do our best to relieve the liability and take it off the county. But that's where we're at right now. I'll bring back specific procedures for you to vote on in resolution form.
Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Have we talked to DCS, or where do they stand on this? I know sometimes there's cases where they need to place children in the middle of the night or something, or if they need to check with the jail and try to have a late night background check.
Yeah, DCS has their own ORI number. They can request background checks 24 hours a day and pull that information. That's what I've been told. So I don't think they'll be utilizing this system. I could be wrong, but they have the ability to get background checks on their own.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
We have a motion. We have a second. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. Jay, being that it would be private citizens and or those who don't have access to this information already, can you specify that it would require an ink signature? In other words, I would hate to find out that someone went up to the counter and had your information and said, I want a background check, and didn't have to show proper identification as well as sign a document.
Oh, absolutely. You're thinking along the right lines. We're going to have a receipt there that they sign. We're going to ask for identification to make sure it is the person that we're giving the background check to, that we're pulling the information for. But yes, all these issues have been considered, and they'll be incorporated into the policy.
Okay, even possibly go as far as, they stand in front of a camera and get their picture taken. I'm
Okay.
just trying to think outside the box when it comes to fraud. That's really a sticky area.
Yes, ma'am.
Especially with all the fraud going on right now and scams.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandale,
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamey,
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager,
Yes.
Commissioner Mead,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Chairman Isbell.
Yes.
All 8.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you,
Have
Mr.
anything else,
Chairman.
Jay?
Yeah, one last thing is the 7th Judicial Crime Task Force Agreement. Again, that's a multi-jurisdictional agreement with all the municipalities and the county, and also the ATF. You've got a copy of it. I sent it to your email this afternoon. It was just brought to our office last week, Thursday afternoon. We've got the copy from the DA's office and sent that out. We've done our review. We had Mr. Pruitt had a couple of issues he wanted to see clarified and corrected. So we've got the answers to that. I do want you to know it is a 10-year deal. It is a 10-year deal. This group has been very successful over the past few years. They're doing a lot of our extensive long-term investigations where we have to put dedicated officers on a case for some time. They do more than just drugs. They do crime. You remember in the days it used to be a drug task force. It is a crime task force. They handle the entire gamut of crime. So I bring that for your consideration tonight, and hopefully you'll pass that and we can move forward with getting that agency recodified.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Commissioner Meredith.
I make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Meredith, second by Commissioner Scott. Commissioner McCamey, do you want to speak?
No, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Mead.
The question I have is the copy you sent out the one that had some corrections made in it already, or are we going to see those minor corrections come at another time?
Whatever I put in the agenda pack on Wednesday afternoon will be the final copy.
Okay. That's good.
Mr. Pruitt, I see that you're online. Did you want to add anything to this?
No, so I have nothing further to add. I talked to General Clark about this, and he likes what's there and cleared up whatever questions I had earlier.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandale,
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamey,
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager,
Yes.
Commissioner Mead,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Chairman Isbell.
Yes. Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have for you tonight. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jay. The next thing is some things that Commissioner Val and myself is co-sponsoring. In the first, and we've got a little slideshow, and it's about the need of a sidewalk and crosswalk on the northbound side of 25W in front of the Lake City Middle School. And what we have is we've got a lot of children now that live in the apartments that's just south of that. And you'll see the walking trail that's, that they've actually walked on, and it's real close to the white line that's on 25W. And what we're asking, is there any way, and I know before, Mayor helped us get a grant for the Lake City Elementary School, but it would take approximately 600 feet of sidewalk to be able to cover that. If you'll see how close these children are walking, you'll see the paths they've got beaten down there. And I know that they are, you know, there's the Rocky Top Police is there every morning, in the evening most of the time, but still yet when they are, you'll see people that's not really paying attention, that they're looking down at their phone. And you'll see how close these children are walking. So what I'm looking for is some direction, the idea, if, you know, I don't know if there's some grants out there, but I just want to make what Commissioner Val and myself want to do is make everybody aware that this is something we really need to look at as far as the safety of our children. And what you're looking at is you're actually looking at the first picture, and the third picture is going north. And then the next picture is at the middle school entrance looking south, and you'll see the signs down at the very bottom. That's the starting of the city. Commissioner Val, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you for doing the heavy lifting on this project as well. I have 2 children who attend the middle school currently. And of course, my beautiful wife drives them there each morning and picks them up each afternoon. But I have driven that stretch of road while school zones are active, and I haven't seen exactly what you are referring to. I think our bus drivers do an excellent job with maintaining safety the best they can. I know our police department does the best it can, our sheriff's office, our school resource officers. Everyone is trying, but to ensure as much safety as we can for those children, I certainly believe it's possible. Some kind of sidewalk, some kind of walk area. I don't know if maybe they could cut a walkway for the students once they reach the grass there at the middle school to cut across there. But then, of course, you have the road entrance coming into the school. So there's several moving parts. But thank you for bringing this up. And it's certainly a need that I think we need to address as a county.
And that's certainly where you can do a crosswalk. If you did a crosswalk there, they would still have to come up about 200 feet before they could get to the school property.
Right.
But let's see, Commissioner Meredith, I think that you had yours lit up there.
No, sir. I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner McCamey.
Yes, sir. They have what I think is referred to as a Safe Schools grant. We obtained one for Brasville and had sidewalks added at the Brasville Elementary School. We just completed one for the Andersonville Elementary School. Maybe the school superintendent can update us at our commission meeting when he gives his report, and maybe they can apply for a grant for Lake City there.
Okay. I actually sent an email to Greg Deal and talked to him about that. And of course, he was in concordance that that's something that's most needed. Mayor.
To Commissioner McCamey's point, TDOT did do away and phase out those safe route to school grants. That's why we've not, you haven't seen any of those come through the school system. But they do a multimodal grant. And so, for instance, down at Norwood Elementary, you all authorized us to apply for sidewalk on both sides of the school. That's in the county portion. Is this in the city of Rocky Top, or is this in the county?
It's actually in the city.
It's in the city. I can definitely help connect them. You can sooner rather than later probably go ahead and do a designated crosswalk with the striping. So for instance, up at Doe Run, Hunter's Trail, A lot of citizens were having an issue there. I think a light is the ultimate goal there, but while the subdivision is in the county, that main part of the road is in the city. And so TDOT did authorize the city of Clinton to do the striping. They can do that if they'll pay for it, and then TDOT will assist with the design and engineer. We could definitely get them to design and engineer that crosswalk, and then help work with the city on next steps for a multimodal application. Because safety is one of the considerations. In fact, this year they changed the scoring since those Safe Route to School grants went away. This year they upped the percentage points for your multimodal application to be to give more weight to the safety aspect for just exact, situations like this. So I think there is something that could be done, but it would need to be, if it's in the city limits, my understanding is the city would need to apply, but I'm happy to help on that.
Is that something you could do, is reach out to the city?
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I'm okay with, how about you, Shane? You good with that? Any other discussion from the committee? Okay, we'll proceed to the next one. The next one is a document, and that was the American's Creed. I got that when I graduated Fulton High School in 1977. I've had it ever since. I keep it in my office, and at times like what we're going through in this nation, I look back and I reflect on that creed. And I think that having that since I was, graduated, it was given to me by John Duncan, but he gave it to all graduating seniors. And I think if we could do that as an Andrews County government to our graduating seniors, I think that would go to show some patriotism, that we're behind that and we support it. So I'm looking forward to discussion or a motion. Commissioner Yeager.
Have you spoken with the school, with Dr. Parrott about this yet?
Talked to Greg Deal. He liked that.
Okay, cool. All right, thanks.
And Commissioner Mead.
I would just like to add for comment that I would like to see that attitude ensure that it's part of the curriculum of the schools. Because I've heard, not in this county, but in a lot of other places, including Tennessee, I've heard some real horror stories about the way they're teaching American history. And it certainly isn't in the same vein of what you read earlier. And so I'd like to see if there's anything we can do to try and ensure that our American history includes all the bad and the good things, with emphasis on how exceptional the United States is of all the nations of the world. I just want to make sure we don't let our school system get astray. Thank you.
I agree. Commissioner Yeager.
I don't know how much I want to try to influence the school board. That's what they're there for. So I don't necessarily disagree, but I don't really think that that's our place.
Okay. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. And I'm going to have to back what Commissioner Yeager just said. It's really not up to us to tell the school system how to, what subjects they need to focus their energy on. Thanks.
I would say we would be talking to the school board to ensure that they keep the emphasis in the right direction. We have every obligation to make sure that happens as county commissioners.
Yes, Mayor. I'll come right back to you, Commissioner Wandale.
Many years ago, I was an intern in the state legislature, and one of the things that I worked in the office of Brenda Turner from Chattanooga, and Matt Kisber was there at the time, and Pete Phillips, and no relation to my family, but Representative Turner would do a proclamation or a resolution for every graduating high school senior. And so our job at that time, that was pre-printer, we would do a little calligraphy and put their names. They would get a list of the graduating seniors from the school system, and then they would insert that onto the document and mail that, or even go make it available as part of the graduation. I could certainly talk to the auditors and see if that's something we could do at the county level. It's obviously authorized at the state level through their own funding mechanism. But I can't imagine it being a large cost if you just bought the parchment paper and then did the printing of that, and then you could fill in the names. But I'm happy to look and see if that's something that's allowable. I would be honored to put my signature on it with you, with your all's.
Okay, be great. Commissioner Wandale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in support of what you're mentioning, and I too agree that I don't think we're trying to say to the school board they have to do this or that. I think it's just a recommendation from the commission that we support this type of form or document to be presented, and maybe let them take it from there. But I'm going to support this. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Are you doing that in the form of a motion, Commissioner Wandale, that we?
I'll make a motion. We support this document for consideration to give out to graduating seniors of Anderson County High Schools and forward it to the Anderson County School Board for consideration.
Second that. Got a motion to second. Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Wandale,
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner McCamey,
Yes.
Commissioner Yeager,
Yes.
Commissioner Mead,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes, that we forward this over to the schools. Thank you.
Chairman Isbell.
Yes. Thank you very much. The motion passed unanimous. And I'm sure that someday one of our seniors will have the same thought that I did. It could be 40 years later, like me. Anyway, we'll move on. The next thing is the homeless program. Again, this co-sponsor is Vice Chairman Val. We have an issue in Anderson County of homelessness. We have a real visible condition in the city of Rocky Top. We don't have as many people living in the city of Rocky Top like maybe Clinton and Oak Ridge, which I know that they all actually, they have some problems there too. But what I want to do is start out talking about homelessness. And I've done a little slideshow here to talk about. And what we'll do is the cause, what happens, and then we'll get to the point, what can we do? And this one here, can everybody at home see this? Okay. You've got the top 4 causes of homelessness among the individuals reported were lack of affordable housing, unemployment, mental illness, which there's a lack of needed services, and substance abuse, lack of needed services. And ASAP in Anderson County does great. They're excellent people to work with on this. Next. It can essentially be broken down to 4 categories: chronic, episodic, transitional, and hidden. What is being homeless like? Some consequences: loss of self-esteem, becoming institutionalized, increase in substance misuse, loss of ability and will to care for oneself, increased danger of abuse and violence, increased chance of entering the criminal jail system. And this is something else that Commissioner Val can talk about. Next. Homelessness is also costly in terms of its negative impact on human life, health, and productivity. Homelessness and lack of shelter for the homeless population can also affect the surrounding communities financially and physically. And we can see this in downtown Rocky Top. Next. Homelessness and addiction are closely connected, with homelessness contributing to substance abuse and substance abuse contributing to homelessness. Commissioner Val and myself, we were working up there and we were doing a donation thing where we're out in the street and we actually seen, he had to call some people to come get them, the way they act. And when you see these people that's out in the street and they're going up to the grocery or to the, the markets and the filling stations and the way that they act, we've actually had one guy that owns a lot of property and he had some people come in. It was a quilter's guild. And they were going to rent one of the buildings there. And after they come and visited for about 3 days, and they seen how the homeless situation was and how they act, those people pulled the contract. We had another company that was right down the street that come in and they were going to redo furniture. They were about 2 weeks and they moved out because of, the people that was trying to get in. And we have, a big problem, I think, with our homeless, with the substance abuse, but you can't arrest people for being homeless. But we got to have some type, this is a step. We got to start somewhere. And that's what we're here tonight for, is to look at this. We'll go through some of these and then we'll have some discussion next. According to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Service Administration, an estimated 64% of homeless people had drug dosage problems in the past month. 38% had alcohol use problems, and 39% had some form of mental health problems. American homeless population is mostly male, with 70% being men, and white American making up 49% of the homeless population. There are a variety of why someone becomes homeless. Reports suggest 33% of homeless people battle mental illness. Sources report mental illness as another major cause of homelessness, which often leads to drug and alcohol abuse. Common mental disorders the homeless struggle with include bipolar disorder, paranoia, delusions, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder. Next. Homeless individuals suffering difficult mental and emotional conditions may find it convenient to self-medicate with harmful substances as well. The combination of mental disorders and substance abuse is known as dual diagnosis or occurring disorders. While it may seem that difficult mental conditions can be suppressed by drugs and alcohol use, this actually creates a destructive cycle of dependency. Post-traumatic stress disorder, particularly high in homeless veterans. Major depressive disorder, severe anxiety. In addition to suffering mental illnesses, homeless individuals suffering mental conditions are more likely to be victims of assault, further needing the comfort they temporarily find in harmful substances. Next. U.S. homeless population is increasing yearly, particularly in younger age ranges. Tragically, homelessness and addiction go hand in hand. Now, we see this in the city of Rocky Top. We see a lot of younger people. The end result of homelessness is often substance abuse, and substance abuse often contributes to homelessness. The National Coalition for the Homeless report that 38% of homeless people are alcohol dependent and 26% are dependent on other harmful chemicals. Homeless will develop psychiatric conditions in response to harsh lifestyle, feeling threatened by violence, starvation, and lack of shelter and love. We see that. We've got one guy that's downtown that does the kung fu all the time. And, these are the things that we see, and we think about this, and it's because of the disorders that they have. And what can we do with them? Next. HUD McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Grant Program is at the core of federal efforts to end homelessness. Each year, HUD awards homeless assistance grants to communities that administer housing and service at the local level. Congress should invest in proven solutions to homelessness by providing at least $3.415 billion for homeless assistance grants in 2021. Next. Economist Robert Frank, and now I saw this on PBS. It was on last Wednesday night. It was talking about the power of influence. Studies peer pressure and how its power can be leveraged for good. In his new book, Under the Influence, Putting Peer Pressure to Work, Frank explains the idea of behavioral connotation, which he says can drive people to do what's right. It's been reported that 5 out of 20 individuals with strong, confident behaviors can influence the entire group behavior. Next. Recovery Unplugged is a national addiction care organization with locations all over the country. And I got this from Gil Bates. I don't know if most people know who that is. And we were talking about that. And he suggested I look into this. And they're all over the United States. And I think the closest one is in Nashville. But they have a very, very high percentage rate of getting people taken care of the way they do it. As addiction continues to affect all areas of the United States, we're determined to bring rehab to clients all over America. RU is a biblically based recovery program designed to rescue, recover, and restore those in addictive behaviors. If you'll see right on the very bottom there, we need you, reformu.com. If you'll look up that website, or you can just put in RU, it'll start coming up, and you'll see everything that they offer and how they deal with homelessness and how they help in recovery. Next. And what can Anderson County government do to address the homeless in Anderson County? That's what we're here tonight, to let the people know of Anderson County that we're actually, that's why we're here. And we want to try to get something going, get the first step in a direction. And I think Commissioner Denenberg was online here, and she done some other studies and talking about how close we are to even more. On Tuesday, August 11th, a webinar preparing for the coming eviction crisis. How communities can prevent eviction and homelessness during COVID-19. And I think she had some statistics that said how close that so much of the American population is to actually becoming homeless. I don't know if Commissioner Denenberg is on there. I think she is. I don't see her light up. But anyway, this is discussion. Does anybody want to do any input? And then after commissioner speak, if there's someone in the audience that wants to speak, you can come forward to the podium. Do we have any commissioners that want to speak? Commissioner Mead, there's Commissioner Denenberg.
I'm sorry, I had to step away for a moment. I did sit in on a webinar. It's been about 6 weeks now, and you may have mentioned that. And it's an ongoing education on the homelessness and the impending problems that cities are going to be facing. Of course, we're not going to be facing the problem like the area that is doing the actual education, because it's being done from Orlando, Florida, which I'm sure you can imagine the problems that they may be facing at this point in time. But I did share this with the mayor and several others. In fact, I don't know, while I had stepped away, if you had mentioned that one of the uptakes that the sheriff's department has seen is an increase in repossession of automobiles. And that's just a precursor to what we will probably be seeing in the future, because if people don't have transportation, they can't work, they can't pay their mortgage and or their rent. So I can see where evictions could become an issue very quickly. So I applaud Commissioners, Isbell and Vowell for taking this on, because it's certainly something that we need to go ahead and get a handle on and get ahead of.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott.
Thank you. What has Rocky Top, the city of Rocky Top, done to try and get this rectified, or at least start to get it rectified?
Well, that's what we're trying to do, is work together as commissioners with the city. They've got some planning. They're working on some things from Planning Commission, and I'll ask Commissioner Val to come forward and speak. He was on city council for a while, and I know he works real close with those people as well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When I was served on city council, 2012, 2016, we had very few what we would consider homeless in the community, and the churches in the community pretty much took care of them. Since being on commission, looking back, the homeless problem has grown substantially, I believe, as each of us would agree. The conversations I've had with the members of city council, the mayor, the police department, that there's no magic wand to wave over the town and fix the problem. As the PowerPoints pointed out, there's many different causes, many different reasons that have brought the city to this state. The city, as far as what they can try, I believe they have had several ideas in the past that haven't been able to come to fruition. The police department, as Commissioner Isbell has said, agrees that it's not illegal to be homeless. The times that they have charged someone with trespassing or simple possession of drugs, that doesn't solve the problem. They wind up being incarcerated. It's a misdemeanor offense. They are usually soon released on bond. They come back. The gentleman that Commissioner Isabel was referring to earlier, that's what happened with him that day. The mental health aspect is something I don't think one city or one county is going to be able to correct. I know the mayor will remember we had a few meetings a couple of years ago with some state level officials, and I could talk about that all evening. I don't want to take up the time. I'm trying to answer Commissioner Scott's question. A mental health facility back in the Knoxville area, I believe, would go a long way to helping this problem. And I hope our state legislators are listening tonight. That in itself. Yes, amen. Amen. Our jail has become a correctional facility / mental health facility simply because of some of those reasons. And that's not what we were set up for. That's not what we do. So we give them help once they're incarcerated, but they're not incarcerated very long for the help to actually stick. So they go right back to the environment that they're from. But I hope I answered your question, Commissioner Scott. The question is, they have been trying to deal with this problem, but there is no 100% magical answer to it. And that's why I think Commissioner Isbell doing the heavy lifting on this project as well. And hopefully with as much help as I can give him and commission give him, we can all come together and come up with a solution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, and I appreciate that very much. The reason why I was asking is that in the city of Oak Ridge, there is a project called Torch that assists those that are homeless and or seeking shelter. We also have Hope Houses, which is there to assist those that are alcohol and or drug dependent or have been. And it's to help them get back on their feet into the workforce, into producing a healthier lifestyle. And if I'm not mistaken, United Way also has funding as well that goes back into the communities. I would just hate to see for the county to take this on full-handedly with the city expecting the county to step forward and per se fix any problems or issues that they have. I would prefer that the city come to the county and say, these are the steps that we've taken. These are the directions we've gone. We need help. And then we could work together as opposed to us taking the first step.
I know Torch, they actually came and spoke to at our operations committee meeting, and I think to come to full commission has probably been, it was before COVID hit, and they had intentions of coming to Rocky Top. And then I think during the starting of the COVID crisis, something it just didn't come through. And I think Commissioner Creasy was real close with these people as well. And I'm going to reach out to him to see where their stance are there. But yeah, Torch is one of the programs that I think we should go to and see what they can offer as well.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. It's actually Commissioner Creasy that introduced me into being involved, getting more involved with Torch. Mm-hmm. And I just wholeheartedly appreciate everything that they do when it comes to reaching out and helping others.
Commissioner Yeager.
Is your speculation on why it's centered in Rocky Top, the I-75 exit, or do you think there are other factors involved?
I-75, the convenience, it's been reported that some's been dropped off from other, communities and other counties. They're taken down there and dropped off. Probably, and Commissioner Val probably can tell you probably more so than I can, about 30% of those people are homegrown and the rest are ones that's been brought in. Any other discussion by commissioners? Not, I'm going to open up the floor to anyone that wants to speak. Come forward and state your name and address, please.
I'm Danielle Daniels. I live at 141 Norris Freeway, Rocky Top, Tennessee. My home is located behind the Blue Haven Motel, and I've lived there for 1 year. The reason I'm very happy that you all have brought this in front of the county. I've lived in Anderson County for a combination of 30 years. I had no idea this problem existed, so I can only assume that there are other people that are long-term residents of this county as well that do not have a clue that this problem is so tremendous, so bad. Your slides are wonderful. They are a problem for the homeless people, but also I'd like to bring another aspect to it too. It's the homeowners in that town that also suffer from the side effects. I have seen both sides, and this is a delicate issue because these are the people that are homeless in these areas are someone's children, they're someone's family, their daughter. But also these are families that live in this town that are finding needles, and it's not just homeless people. These are people of all different, walks of life in their yards. They're finding clothes in their yards. They're finding cans of food in their yards. The homeowners of that town are also suffering because of this problem. At any given time, anybody can come off the exit through the town and find 8 to 10 people in the streets at any moment. The police are understaffed. I think the city and the city managers, the staff, they're at a loss of what to do. This is not a problem that they've been battling for a long time, and slowly has just gotten so bad. It has boomed on them. It doesn't come with a guide. They do have rules and regulations to come up, that they have to follow. They can't arrest someone for being on the street. However, the citizens of that town, I feel from what they tell me, they're upset. They're at their wits' end. They don't feel safe in their community. They don't feel like it is their town anymore. I don't think that the citizens of the town know what to do. I don't feel that the staff of the town knows what to do. I don't think they have the resources or know what resources are available out there, both the citizens and the city. It is a really bad recipe for disaster. If you're in that town, then you know something's going to happen. You know this is bad. It's not going to end up. I think a lot of other areas in Anderson County don't realize it. If you drive through that town, whether you live there or not, you turn your head, you lock your doors, you don't want to stop there. Businesses aren't going to want to stop there. They're not going to want to build there, therefore stopping the revenue from coming into the city, coming into the town, making that town prosper. It's just a drainage on your resources. Speaking of resources, that's another thing. The money's going out, your EMT, your fire, your rescue. They're going on the OD calls. They're going on the robbery calls. They're going on the calls of somebody's come across my yard again for the 5th time. This guy's fighting air. All that money, all that gas, all that fuel, all that time could be redirected to try to help in some way. Those are resources that are being used, and it's not productive resources. I don't have the magic wand. I'm not saying that I do. I'm super glad that you all have brought this up. This is a tremendous, huge issue that really nobody does know how to address. But your citizens, the citizens of that town, yes. They don't know, a lot of the citizens don't know how to express themselves. They don't know the avenue to go about it properly, and I don't either. But I'm here to try to help both be in the middle. I want to help the people that don't have a home, the people who have mental issues, the people that have, drug addiction, and the homeowners of that town, try to help their town. They want to see it prosper. They want to see it do well, but there's that barrier there that they can't get over. We really need the help from the county. I think a lot of the citizens, those who don't feel that they have the support from their city manager. Ms. Scott asked what the city has done. We've gone to city council. We've started neighborhood watch meetings. We've started neighborhood meetings among the community. I don't think at this point, a lot of people feel that the city has done enough to support them. We've discussed this with them. I've heard other people discuss this with them. I don't know if it's lack of knowledge of what to do, or if they just think that some people are upset and that, I don't know. I don't think the citizens feel that the support is there from the city manager at this time. Lastly, we need help. I can't say thank you enough for bringing this up. I can't stress enough to everybody that is listening that this may not be a problem in the town that you live in, but it's right next door to you. This is your brother. This is your sister. This is your aunt. This is your cousin. This is family still yet. We're all in this together. So even though it's not directly, you don't have somebody you don't wake up and there's somebody on your porch, or you don't wake up and there's needles in your yard. This is still your family. This is still in the same county and also your problem as well. So please help us out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have talked to the city manager quite a bit on this. I've talked to the mayor. And they do, although you maybe don't see it so much, but they do have a lot of interest in this, and they're doing everything they think they can do. And that's why I brought it to this committee, because I can tell you one thing, that the people that's elected by the people of Anderson County, this legislative body, they're very intelligent. They're very caring. And that's what they're going to do is they're listening now. And I guarantee the mayor and everybody's thinking, what can we do to help? And it's not just, although, Rocky Top's such a small area, you see more of it, but it's all across the county, because I can take you into Clinton and show you where there's people, that's living in the woods and that. And I see a lot of the same people, I see in Rocky Top, I see in Oak Ridge too. It's just a matter of how it's going to grow. And I think what Commissioner Denenberg was talking about, we're going to see more and more of it. And what we've seen in Rocky Top is an explosion of this. I mean, we really have. And that's why I brought out the slides about the substance abuse, because the homelessness leads to substance abuse, and that's what they do. And, I don't close my eyes to it. I see it.
Commissioner Mask,
Yes.
one thing, what has the city manager and the mayor done towards steps to solve this problem? You said that they have. What have they done? And then secondly, I'd also like to add, I have been in touch with Torch, and they said that they do not service the Rocky Top area. I also was in touch with the YWCA. She dedicates 10 hours per week to the Rocky Top area. Mm-hmm. So that's all that I found is 10 hours per week. So just to let you know.
Yeah. So we had Torch actually come and talk to us about it, and that's what I was saying. I don't know what really happened, because they had a real genuine interest in it, but maybe that's who we go back to, or this RU Industries. Gil Bates was talking about how great that this thing works. It's based out of Rockford, Illinois. There's one in Nashville. And if you go on and look at their success rate and how they do it, it's phenomenal. And, it's a Christian-based organization.
So are you able to say what they have done, what progress they have made towards?
Well, what they do is, the people that complain, if they're on private property, they can't just arrest them walking down the street. But I have actually seen a couple of Saturdays ago, I was going through the Sonic, and I seen Officer Johnson. He had stopped one of the guys walking down the road, and he had the bandage around his arm. We all know, what's going on there. And so he's questioning him and, trying to make them uncomfortable. And that's what you hear from some people. You got to make it uncomfortable for them. But I think that we've got to reach out to, some of these other organizations, because they have an issue. And until we can come up with a way to address this issue. And that's what we're here for tonight, to give everybody the opportunity to speak, and for these commissioners to put their mind to it. They'll come up with something.
And I thank you for it. And I also like to say, Officer Todd Johnson is a wonderful officer.
Yes.
So glad he's in our town.
Yes.
Thank you.
We really do have some great officers. They're understaffed. They really are.
Yes.
Because what happens on one end, they get called up here, and what's going on down here, they can't get there quick enough. So
Definitely understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else that wants to speak?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you. I want to thank you and Vice Chairman Val for bringing this to our attention. I agree that it is an issue. Obviously, homeless folks do not have access to the internet, but I did a quick search while we were talking and during your presentation, and there's homelessness in Anderson County. 3 popped up right away. A couple of them have already been discussed. Oak Ridge Torch, of course. I think somebody we can approach, but Anderson County Anderson County Community Action Commission. And then this new one that kind of opened up beside the courthouse on Leinert Street. I've seen the sign. I'm sure some of the other commissioners have as well. It's called the Tennessee Valley Coalition for the Homeless. I'm looking at their website. They have an office in Jacksboro and Campbell County, La Follette. But Mr. Chairman, I think what we've all know in this conversation is there needs to be another conversation and maybe have all these entities show up. Maybe we can do a Zoom call and maybe have somebody like yourself and Vice Chairman Val lead the meeting with the mayor, and maybe we can kind of brainstorm during that, have a public hearing or meeting, whatever you want to call it, where we can kind of see what Tennessee Valley Coalition for the Homeless brings to the table and some of these others, and maybe we can come up with some type of strategy. Main thing is no one knows where to go. It doesn't sound like, so maybe we can put all those pieces together.
Thank you, Commissioner Wandale. Great idea.
Hello, Mr. Isabel. How are you?
All right, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Name and address, please.
My name is Katie Hurst, and my new address is 314 North Main Street in Rocky Top.
Okay.
I come to you today because I was born and raised in Rocky Top. I recently moved back from Clinton, so Clinton. And when I came back, it was completely different than my childhood. My first experience with the drug paraphernalia was in the Waggles parking lot. I seen 3 uncapped needles just lying around. Definitely that's a child safety concern for sure. But I was curious because I've never had experience with homelessness, never did this. So I actually have been on the street for the past 2 weeks talking to homelessness, figure out what I can do to help these people. Fact of the matter is, I've been verbally abused, my property abused. I'm not welcome. And there is a lot of resources in Anderson County already available to these people, but they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, they have a constitutional right to do that, per se. I feel like Rocky Top Police, I've talked to a few of those officers, and they completely agree. They're overwhelmed. They can't control it all. And if they do make arrests, they're going all the way to Clinton. And by the time that happened,
They're back.
yeah, you're right back at it. As far as the mental health people go, this man's just not doing karate. I have a video of him almost committing suicide. He was strangling himself with a jacket in the middle of the street going into oncoming traffic. And I addressed my concern with Rocky Top Police. And definitely their reasoning was he's a mental health man, but definitely a trouble to the kids as I'm looking at all the Waggles customers, and they're all. I've talked to managers of Waggles. He's the DM. He frankly don't know what to do in this situation. He's a great manager. I love him. He'll help in any certain ways he can, because safety for his employees and his customers is his number one well-being. He feels the same way as Rocky Top Police. I've also been in contact with Dollar General manager about their parking lot, because it's definitely littered all over the place. They was so quick to answer my complaint and talk to me. It was wonderful. Like I said, go back to how I offer to help them. I got multiple pamphlets from homeless. Sorry, I'm long. Yes, yeah, Torch for one. And they was upset that I wouldn't purchase them a hotel in Blue Haven or any of those hotels. And this man, Jeffrey, became very violent, and he started raising Cain. And that's, and it came to the point where if I didn't buy him a cell phone, he was going to become even more verbally abusive. So, of course, I got away from the situation. Just like she mentioned resources, there is quite a few resources going to be a problem, I believe, in the hotels. Definitely EMS, fire department, and also if you walk through town, you'll notice quite a few of these individuals at 119 South 6th Street. We got about 15 homeless people packed into they claimed is an 8x12 storage building, but that's just not the case. There's people overdosed on the porch and sitting there huffing the air out of a whipped cream can. And so I just wanted to come out and address this, that I've actually been out there. And the one person that did receive help, she was down on her luck. She had 2 kids. Main Street Baptist Church was so great about getting her into a hotel, great place, and then brought back out. She was the only one that offered,
Yeah.
Get out there.
And Main Street offers a lot of programs for that, and they'll feed the people, and I'm a member of Main Street. And yes, they have big compassion.
Yes, they do. Yes. But it's just a matter of fact is these people don't want help. Drugs are very easy to come by, and you got a low police.
And there's so many churches in Rocky Top, and even Commissioner Val's church, that offer, anything they can. Of course, when they come in, if they're going to feed them, they're going to get a little preaching too. So that's what.
And they don't like that. They don't. And,
No, but if they want to eat, they're going to, that's what they got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of citizens have reached out to me through Facebook with their concerns, and they've sent me pictures of their property being destroyed with baseball bats. I know another citizen, she was driving through town when the karate chop man jumped onto her vehicle. She made a report about that. And it's just not, we are in desperate need of help.
Yeah, I've had them actually just walk right out in front of me at night. And I think, it's that close that, that somebody's not paying attention. They're going to hit them, they're going to run over them. And,
Yeah.
And it's somebody with a mental condition that's out there doing that.
Yeah.
But I sure appreciate what you do. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take everybody working together. I mean, we can't just say, the city's not doing their job, because you know how they're overwhelmed. We're just here to help and to give the citizens, say, we are listening. We're not. And this body will help all that they can, I'm sure, just like Commissioner Wandale.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
I could not do Rocky Top Police's job. I definitely value them for everything that they do. And they are trying their best.
Yes.
They just can't help it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak?
My name's Connie Klinkhammer. I live at 403 Chestnut Avenue, Rocky Top. I've lived in my home for 22 years. I would give anything to be able to sell my house and get out immediately. I've had one lady overdose on my back porch, woke up by my dog screaming that somebody's outside. I had to call paramedics and the police. I've had the airman, as you call him, I've called the police on that boy several times, hoping to save his life, because he was standing in town shooting up, fighting the air, choking himself. It's horrible. I live right on the railroad tracks, and people are they're living there on the railroad tracks. I've called the police department. I can't tell you how many times about people, being around my house at night. I've woke up and come to go to work and come out on my porch, and a man was asleep on my back porch. Scared me to death. I mean, I don't want to have to deal with things like that. I shouldn't have to deal with those things. I have went out in the community with other people that have like halfway houses and drug addiction programs that they could get these people in with no insurance. It wouldn't cost them anything, and they absolutely refuse any kind of help.
Yeah.
Is there no laws to the mental health that would require them mandatory to get some kind of help for their mental issues? I mean, I don't
Maybe
know what the
Commissioner
law
Val
is.
could answer that,
They're being offered a chance to make a better life for themselves, but they're turning it down and cussing you out and telling you not to come back around them no more.
We've actually had at Andrews County Tourism, I serve on that board. We've had people sleeping on that, on their back porch. That's
Yeah.
in Clinton.
Well, that's very scary. I live alone. I have a dog, and to come out to go to work and there's a homeless person, passed out on your back porch. What do? I run back in the house screaming because I didn't know what to do.
Exactly.
It is a scary place.
It is.
Like she said about Weigels, I wouldn't even go to Weigels anymore because of that. You can't step out of your car without somebody wanting money from you. Or do you have drugs to sell? Can you fix me something to eat? Can you buy me a drink? It's just not a safe town anymore. It's scary. And I don't know what the answer is. I wished I knew, but I have offered to help them, and I have gave many of them clothes and food. And I do work at Community Action, and we don't have, that's not any of the programs that we offer there is anything for homeless. We refer them to Torch. Torch can only do so much. They're at their capacity right now. They don't have enough staff either, and they definitely don't have enough funds. And trying to put these people into public housing with their backgrounds, most of them's been in jail numerous times, the state won't allow them to go into public housing because of their background. They can't pass the background check, so they can't get housing. So what, I don't know the answer. I'm here to try to help figure that out also, and I would love to get to know how to help.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll come up with some type of plan.
Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Val, do you got anything else?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, I feel our constituents' frustration. When I lived in the center of town, it wasn't this bad. So looking back, certainly as you explained, the situation has exploded. I think legally, we're limited in what we can do because as I explained earlier, we incarcerate them for trespassing or whatever misdemeanor offense. Most of them aren't felony offenses or misdemeanor offenses, which means we can't hold them very long. They sober up the 3, 4, 5 days that they may be incarcerated, but eventually we have to release them. They go right back. And I understand what our constituents are saying. A lot of them don't want to go anywhere else. They're comfortable there in that environment. And you're exactly right. I think the churches in our community now don't want to see anyone go hungry. And I think the Bible teaches us that, but at the same time, we do not want to be enablers. And we don't want to put them in a situation where they are comfortable with continuing on with this lifestyle. So I do want our constituents to know that we're hearing what they're saying. I know the rest of the committee and the commission hears what they're saying. I think maybe the mayor had a suggestion, maybe forming a task force. We've been very successful with task force in the past, confronting issues facing the county. That may be a suggestion that the committee may want to consider, and then we can discuss the formation of that committee later on. Maybe we can allow a couple of citizens from the area to sit on that committee and continually bring us some input. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Yeager.
Thank you. During public comment, I sent a text to Sheila Michael, who's the founder of Torch, asked her for some comments, and I'm just going to read most of them here. She said, "Of course we serve Rocky Top. We now have a part-time case manager specifically for Rocky Top. Most of the homeless there don't want to leave because of family connections in the area, so that makes things difficult. We have a long-range plan for Rocky Top, but need to raise the funding to make that possible. COVID is increasing requests for assistance exponentially." So it sounds like everybody's working on it. And it's going to be a tough nut to crack, but there are people trying to help. And I think Commissioner Wandell's suggestion of trying to get some people into commission to give their ideas or plans might be a really good one.
Thank you, Commissioner Yeager. And Commissioner Val is the one who was telling me about this. We've actually had people taking showers out in the front yard of another church without any clothes on, broad daylight. That's a problem. Anyone else? Mayor.
I know it's been long, so I'll just be very brief, but to the citizens, excellent input, and thank you to Commissioner Isabel and Val. The issue about mental health is one that goes back multi-decades, and there was a movement long ago to deinstitutionalize those with severe issues, such as the gentleman you're describing with the kung fu and hanging himself and trying to harm himself. And the argument at that time was that it was cruel to keep someone like that confined in a facility. And then there are those on the other side who believe that's the safest thing for that individual, to give them consistent food and medical treatment and be able to intervene when they're trying to choke themselves. So this is a national debate, a philosophical debate, a debate of ideology on how we handle the mentally ill. To me, I think it's been a royal, massive failure, because what we have done is we've turned our prisons, just as Commissioner Val has said, into mental health facilities. They are not trained to deliver services. They did not sign up to deliver those services. That's not what their mission is. And, but perhaps if we do some type, we don't have the ability, we can be a spark that maybe reignites that debate. But perhaps if we do this, something like a task force, I would believe the first step would be, as a community, deciding what you want, what you want the solution to look like. So for instance, in California, they have set up programs where they're fine with tents in the street, and they're, that's their solution, if you will, and then they provide services in that format. I think the first step is coming together as a community, defining how do you want to deal with it, what are you willing to accept, and then maybe getting all the various folks that come together in that task force to agree on a plan of action. So perhaps it is a partnership with law enforcement, who then works if there's a trespass, then they get them into the jail, and then we have more of a dedicated presence there to try to network or get that individual to the right service. Veterans have a very strong network, and there are a lot of veterans agencies that are committed to, if someone is put in jail, and there's a couple of organizations that I know of right off the bat, they're willing to tell me, if you tell me they're in there, then they're going to make something happen for them. But it's going to take, a real plan of action so that everybody knows what each partner is doing. It's not going to be up to Rocky Top Police alone, or the Sheriff's Department, or Torch. I mean, it's going to take massive coordination, but I think it can be done. But it's going to take a lot of work. And the number one thing is addiction. And I think the problem is amplified. I mean, it used to be Otis letting himself into the cell in Mayberry. And now we've got fentanyl, and we've got complicated compounds, and we've got big pharma in fancy suits, and they're untouchable. And it's just, we see the compounded problems. If we could only just deal with alcoholism, that might be one thing, but it's an entirely new generation of problems that we've never seen before. So I fully believe Anderson County can be a leader in the state in this if we put our minds to it. We have all the right people here to make it happen.
I agree. We've always been the beacon.
Yes.
I agree. And even the Anderson County Chamber can tell you, I mean, they have tried a lot to bring in, some revenues and businesses to Rocky Top, and it's a deterrent. But I applaud the Anderson County Chamber for everything they've done to try to bring, stuff to the city of Rocky Top. And I think maybe if Commissioner Val wants to, maybe we should have like a town hall meeting, and we can get this together, Mayor, if you'll come with us, and we'll talk, and we'll try to get a direction. Okay. Anything else from any other commissioner? Anyone else from the public? Anyone calling in? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. And thank you so much for everybody that came. Thank you, commissioners, for hanging in there and staying, and for your input. It's all Anderson County. And that's why I like everybody that I work with, because I know I can depend on you. Next is new business. Do we have any new business come for this committee? Any old business?
Mr. Chairman, I got a couple items.
Yes, Mr. Wandale.
Wanted to check with the mayor, and we talked about this, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, about the idea of CDBG grant for sewer in Claxton to connect that Faust Kearney. We did work, I don't know, maybe 8-10 years ago now here in Claxton on the so-called business section of Claxton, and would like to connect that going over through Faust Kearney on over to the Clinton Highway, and didn't know if how I could go about getting with the mayor and seeing if we can get that process started at some point.
Sure. I'll be happy. I know the most recent one we did was for water. And so that is for Savage Garden area, and then also out in some of the Andersonville district area. The sewer is a little tougher sledding with CDBG in that area. I know we did some surveys for a couple of communities, and the CDBG is income-based approached. And so that's why it's a little bit tougher climb over there. I do know that I think the expansion of Edgemore Road and then also the eventual closure of Bull Run might be an infrastructure opportunity for us there, Commissioner Wandale, but I'll have some conversations and see what I can come up with.
Thank you. And yeah, I had some people asking about it, and I'll certainly follow up. And the other thing is, speaking of the Edgemore Road, I did send an email to TDOT, might not have went to the right person, but have you got any updates on the intersection?
No, I haven't. And I need to follow back up. I did email someone who I thought would be the right connection on, or are you asking about the turn lane into the school?
Yeah, all of it out there.
Yeah, I had asked about that, did not get a response, but I got a reply connecting me to the project manager, and then the project manager has not responded to me yet, so I need to do a follow-up email.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Wandale, actually, I was there at that intersection, I think Saturday afternoon, and the person I was with happened to notice the utility lines that's there where the poles broke down. It looks like those things are, ready to come down, which can probably cause a serious injury. So I see where you're very concerned.
Well, it's number one issue in our district. I can tell you there's Facebook posts constantly, and people just don't understand why it's taken so long and what the issue is. And, from a safety standpoint, it's coming from Raccoon Valley to make a right-hand turn on the Clinton Highway heading to Clinton. It's pretty treacherous now with all those barrels and stuff there. So maybe we can figure out, and I think the mayor's got some good contacts with TDOT. Maybe she can get some folks motivated. I'm sure they're waiting on the light post and everything to go, but I don't know why we can't finish the roadways. It looks like they just need one top dressing and paint and take out the barrels and we can get started. But maybe they want to keep them there until the lights are done, I guess. I don't know.
I know you're doing everything, you and Commissioner Fritz Bold, so concerned with your community, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just point of information here. Last week, Campbell County received a broadband grant in the amount of about $6.4 million. That connected over 3,000 residents with broadband. And I am thrilled for those people in Anderson County. But at the same time, I'm a little envious because we have people in the Andersonville and Fairview area that have no broadband. And I cannot imagine, I was going through that post, and there's several counties, Meigs County, Trousdale County, Cumberland County, Smith County, and Wilson County, all have received grants, but none of them were with AT&T or Comcast. And I don't know exactly what the problem is, why that Comcast and AT&T, as big as they are, would not participate in this, what they call a Reconnect program. I'm really concerned about that. Is it like they really don't care? And I know the mayor had a task force on broadband at one time that we sort of haven't heard anything from that task force in some time. But maybe she could give us an update on where we stand on that and why that we haven't been considered. I know round 2 just closed out April 15th. And you know, if there's going to be a round 3, where do we stand?
I'm not familiar with what Campbell County just received. I do know that there is a difference. So for instance, Scott County is a distressed county according to ARC, Appalachian Regional Commission. I do know that Campbell County has received a large broadband grant through the Appalachian Regional Commission. They are considered at risk. One of the biggest challenges for Anderson County is that we are a transitioning county, meaning we're doing better, we rank better, our economic indicators are better. This is why it's very difficult for us, for instance, to get a facilities loan for a community development block grant. So we tried that avenue, for instance, with Briceville Fire Department. That area meets all the demographics, but unfortunately they grade us as a whole, as a county as a whole. So that's one of the challenges, and that may be the reason there. The other thing is, if you look at us on the map and the data, they call us 90% connected or 90% connectivity, but yet you can go to areas like your district, Commissioner McCamey, and Dutch Valley and around the schools. You know, there are a lot of zones, Commissioner Anderson's district and Waddell's district has a lot of gaps. Commissioner Val and Commissioner Isbell, you have a lot of gaps. It's just been, it's tough sledding. One of the biggest challenges in our area is and I'm not saying it's the pole rental fee. And if you get into discussion with the broadband providers here, it apparently adds a whole nother layer of cost to a project that they're not having to deal with in a lot of other areas. So that's where we are. I did have a virtual meeting with Comcast on some of the grants that have become available through the CARES Act. All of that had to be completed by December 30th. They did not feel like they had anything that they could get done by December 30th. But, you know, anytime we get someone without connectivity, Leanne or I are sending that to Comcast. I know Commissioner Anderson's been doing that as well. And if you all as commissioners, if you'll just continue to send those to us, then they build a portfolio. They do a lot of their projects based on how many months it takes them to get a return on the investment. And there's, I know there's a lot of frustration. I'm one of those that's frustrated because you'll have someone who's across the street that has broadband and connectivity, and yet they want to charge you $7,000 on your side of the street. And I've sat down with them and gone over it. And when you see what they're laying out for you, it's not as simple as just taking a line across the street. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it requires how many are served on their, this is where it gets technical that I'd have to turn it over to IT to explain some of this side of it. But we'll keep trying. It's just a little harder for us because we do well. And to me, that's what I've found to be the number one challenge. Comcast has said they will work with us on grants, and they have identified some areas. I also met with Highland, who said they would work with us on some grants. So it's just a matter of time, the right opportunity, and what the grant package is and what they're after.
And I know Alan Hill, with AT&T, he's always been there to help. And we can probably reach out to him. And with this new tower, I think the mayor saw the same email. He gave me some logistics of it, but he said, you can't tell the public. You know, we don't want it out to our competition. So all I can say, it's going to be really good when they get it going. So, anything else? Anything else come before this committee? Seeing none, we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening, for trying to help out. I really appreciate it. Thank you.